June 9th, 1944. Near Villers-Bocage, Normandy. The morning mist hangs low over the French hedgerows as a column of British Shermans crawls forward, engines grumbling through the damp air. Corporal David Fletcher, 23 years old, leans out of his commander's hatch, the smell of cordite and wet earth heavy around him. His tank, a newly issued Sherman Firefly, feels alien compared to the clunky Crusader he trained on back home. Beneath the armor, his gunner, Private Alfie Rhodes, wipes oil off the breech of a monstrous 17-pounder gun that still seems too large for its turret. "Bloody big stick for a Yank tin can," Rhodes mutters. Fletcher grins. "Aye, but it's the only stick that'll swat a tiger." For months, German Panzer crews had mocked Allied Shermans as Tommy cookers, death traps that burst into flames at the first hit. To them, these tanks were symbols of Allied desperation, thinly armored toys that clattered into battle and died by the dozens. In Africa, in Italy, on the Eastern Front, the Tiger and Panther had ruled the battlefield. But Normandy was different. As the column edges forward, radio chatter crackles. Intelligence reports of German armor nearby, possibly elements of the 101st SS Heavy Panzer Battalion. Fletcher's crew stiffens. Everyone knows what that means. Tigers. At 500 meters ahead, across a field shrouded in smoke, the unmistakable silhouette of a Tiger I emerges. Its 88mm gun slowly pivots, the black cross gleaming in the morning sun. For a heartbeat, all sound vanishes. Then the Tiger fires. The shell screams past, striking a nearby Sherman broadside. A plume of flame erupts. "Christ almighty!" Rhodes yells, gripping the elevation wheel. Fletcher steadies his voice. "Target! Tiger! Hold down behind the hedgerow!" The Firefly's gun roars. A thunderclap echoes across the valley. The recoil nearly throws Rhodes off his seat. Through the smoke, the Tiger halts, motionless. Seconds later, its turret erupts, flames spilling skyward. The crew stares in disbelief. One shot, one kill. The laughter of German tankers, that mocking certainty of superiority, ends in the dirt of Normandy that day. Fletcher exhales, heart pounding. "Not bad for a Tommy cooker," he murmurs. The Firefly had just proven itself a predator. The birth of a giant killer, England, early 1943. A year earlier, across the Channel, few would have believed such a moment possible. In early 1943, at the British Armoured Fighting Vehicle School in Lulworth, Dorset, engineers and officers gathered in frustration. Reports from North Africa were grim, Shermans burning like matchsticks under the 88mm fire of the German Tigers. The War Office knew it couldn't wait for an entirely new tank design. They needed something now. Major George Brighty and Lieutenant Colonel George Witheridge, both tank experts and veterans of desert warfare, led a radical idea. Take the American-built M4 Sherman, reliable, mass-produced, and fast, and fit it with the British 17-pounder, the most powerful anti-tank gun in Allied service. But the gun was enormous. Its breech alone nearly filled the Sherman's turret. The recoil was violent, the barrel heavy, the ammunition long. Engineers shook their heads. It can't be done. Brighty wouldn't accept that. Working late nights in a cold hangar, he and his team re-engineered the turret by rotating the gun 90 degrees and fitting it with a new recoil system. The radio had to be moved to a rear turret box. Every inch of space mattered. It was crude, uncomfortable, and far from elegant, but it worked. The first prototype fired in early 1944. The recoil slammed through the frame, shaking bolts loose, but the shell tore through a captured Panther at 1,000 yards. Silence followed the explosion. Then cautious laughter. Someone muttered, "Looks like the Yank tin can's grown fangs." The name soon followed, Firefly. By spring, the 17-pounder Shermans rolled off British assembly lines in limited numbers, barely enough to equip a few tank troops per regiment. Most crews still fought in standard 75mm Shermans, but each unit made sure one Firefly led the column. It became the sniper of the armored divisions, the one tank every German feared yet couldn't always spot, because from a distance, it looked just like every other Sherman. British command didn't advertise it. Crews were told to conceal the length of the gun with camouflage nets and foliage. To the Germans, every Sherman might now be a Firefly, and that psychological edge was worth its weight in armor. Somewhere in occupied France, a Tiger commander would peer through his optics, spot a Sherman, and hesitate. That split second, the doubt was enough. The tables were beginning to turn. Baptism by fire. Villers-Bocage, June 13th, 1944. The morning of June 13th, 1944 dawned hot and hazy over the rolling farmlands of Villers-Bocage. Dust clung to the hedgerows as the British 7th Armored Division, the famed Desert Rats, advanced eastward from Bayeux. Among their ranks were several of the newly arrived Sherman Fireflies, their long 17-pounder barrels awkwardly wrapped in camouflage netting and burlap strips. Corporal David Fletcher's Firefly trundled along the narrow French lanes, the engine growling as it pulled the tank's 30-ton weight uphill. Inside, the crew's nerves were tight. They'd heard rumors of Michael Wittmann, the German tank ace whose Tiger had already left a trail of destruction across Normandy. Then, through a break in the trees, the unmistakable rumble of diesel engines echoed back. Rhodes glanced up from the periscope. Contact! Front, 200 yards, multiple bogies. Heavy. Fletcher's heart clenched. The shape was unmistakable. Tigers lined up across the field, their armor glinting like iron beasts in the sun. The Germans hadn't spotted them yet. Fletcher whispered through the intercom, "Steady, lads. First shot counts." Rhodes adjusted the sight. The 17-pounder's barrel extended far past the hedge, aimed directly at the lead Tiger. Range? 400 meters. Fire! The Firefly recoiled with a thunderous crack, dirt exploding from its tracks. A moment later, the Tiger's turret burst apart in a jet of fire, the shell piercing straight through its frontal armor. The German column froze. Panic rippled over the radio net. One Tiger tried to reverse, but the Firefly's second shot struck its side, igniting the ammunition rack. "2 confirmed kills!" excited Rhodes shouted, voice shaking. "Christ, we got them!" But the victory was fleeting. The Germans regrouped fast. A Tiger's 88mm roared, hurling a shell that ripped through a nearby Cromwell, turning it into a fireball. The British line erupted in chaos. Fletcher's Firefly reversed into the hedgerow, dirt showering the crew. Over the next 10 minutes, the field became a hellscape of smoke, shattered armor, and screams echoing through static-filled radios. Fletcher's gun barked again, a third Tiger crippled. The 17-pounder spat flame like a dragon, and with every shot, another myth of German invincibility cracked. When silence finally fell, the smoke drifted across the field of twisted metal. British infantry moved in cautiously, rifles raised. 3 Tigers smoldered among the wreckage. The Tommy Cooker, once the joke of the Panzer Corps, had just humiliated Germany's best. That night, Fletcher and his men sat by their tank, faces streaked with soot and disbelief. Rhodes passed around a dented tin of tea.
Almost there, watch the seal.
"Never thought I'd live to see a Tiger run." Fletcher smiled faintly. "They'll stop laughing now." The Firefly had done more than destroy enemy armor. It had changed the psychology of the battlefield. Fear in the Iron Forest. France, Summer 1944. By July 1944, word of the Firefly spread like wildfire through the German armored divisions. Tank crews who once joked about Shermans now scanned every hedgerow in dread. In after-action reports, officers noted that the long-barreled Shermans can penetrate at over 1,500 meters, avoid open engagement. On the British side, every Firefly was now prized and guarded. Infantrymen called them guardian angels. Each regiment had only a handful, one Firefly per 4 tanks, yet their presence could turn an ambush into a rout. In the bocage of Normandy, battles became duels fought through narrow lanes and hidden pastures. German Panzers prowled like hunters, but every glint of sunlight on a gun barrel could mean death. Many crews tried to strike first, only to be shattered by a single precise flash from an unseen Firefly. In one clash near Saint-Aignan-de-Cromenil, a British Firefly from the 1st Northamptonshire Yeomanry knocked out Michael Whitman's Tiger, ending the career of Germany's most feared tank ace. The shot came from over 800 meters through a hedge in seconds. After that, no German tanker mocked the Sherman again. The laughter was gone, replaced by silence, then fear. The humble, improvised machine built from desperation had become legend. And by the time Allied armor rolled into Paris that August, every Tiger crew knew its name: Firefly. The Reckoning. Autumn 1944. Across the Rhine. October 1944. The air in northern France carried the sharp chill of oncoming winter as Allied forces pressed eastward toward the Siegfried Line. The once invincible Wehrmacht was falling back, its armored spearhead dulled and bleeding. But every step forward came at a price, for the Firefly crews especially. Corporal Fletcher's tank rumbled through the ruins of a village near Aachen, its tracks crunching over shattered brick and glass. The smell of diesel and scorched metal lingered from a battle the day before. Fletcher leaned out of the hatch, scanning for movement through a haze of smoke. Hard to believe, muttering. His driver, McNeil, muttered. Just a few months ago, they said the Shermans were coffins on tracks. Fletcher nodded, eyes distant. And now the Tigers are the ones hiding. But he didn't smile. He knew the truth. The Firefly was powerful, yes, but still vulnerable. Its armor was thin, its silhouette tall, and once spotted, it drew every gun in the field. German gunners had learned to aim for it first, recognizing the long 17-pounder barrel as the mark of death. Many Firefly crews never fired a second shot. As night fell, Fletcher's unit halted beside a ruined church. A handful of villagers emerged, thin, silent, carrying lanterns. One old man looked up at the towering tank and whispered, "Liberateurs." For the first time in weeks, Fletcher felt the weight of what his crew had done. Not just the kills, but what they symbolized. The Firefly wasn't built for glory. It was built because men like Brighty, Witheridge, and a handful of sleepless engineers refused to accept defeat. A year earlier, they'd been outgunned and outmatched. Now, across France and Belgium, the Allies were pushing the enemy back with tanks the Germans had once laughed at. In the last light of dusk, Fletcher looked toward the east, where the Rhine waited, and beyond it, the heart of Germany. The Firefly's gun barrel, blackened by weeks of battle, pointed the same way. He murmured quietly, "One more push, lads, and maybe this thing can rest." The Firefly had done its part. It had given the underdog a fighting chance, and turned mockery into fear, fear into respect, and respect into victory. When historians later asked German tankers what they feared most, many gave the same answer. Not the Pershing, not the Thunderbolt, but the long-barreled Sherman, the one that could kill a tiger. That was the legacy of the Sherman Firefly, born from necessity, forged in defiance, and remembered as the tank that silenced the laughter.